Welcome into Fox and Friends on this Sunday morning. We start out with breaking news out of Japan. The country's prime minister now calling the deadly quake and tsunami the greatest crisis facing the country since the Second World War. Plus, there are conflicting reports on the quake-damaged nuclear reactors and the potential for a nuclear disaster.
David Piper is live in Tokyo with the latest developments. David, tell us what's happening first at the nuclear reactor, if you would.
Hi, yes, I understand that there has been a warning issued that there could be another explosion at this Fukushima nuclear complex. There was one yesterday after a hydrogen release, and the Japanese government says there's a real danger that could happen in another unit now. They're pouring coolant and seawater to try to bring down the temperature around the reactor. They do say they have it under control, but there is real fear now that there could be some kind of partial meltdown at that plant. Looking at the death toll now, initial reports here are saying that it could rise to as many as 10,000 now, but we're hearing reports from places like Miyagi Prefecture where they're saying perhaps 10,000 are missing there. And also we heard yesterday that one town was swept away nearby and another 9,500 are missing. So we do expect the death toll to jump considerably over the next 24 to 48 hours. Now the rescue effort is continuing at this time. The Japanese troops are pouring into the region. Over 100,000 are involved. That's 40% of the total Japanese army moving into there. They're also getting support from the US forces and also rescue teams from around the world. But there is real concern at this time also for the people in that region. Temperatures dropped to around 0 during the night, and there's concerns about food supplies. The electricity supply is still cut there, and also they want clean water. So there continues to be a real focus on the living now here. Back to you.
All right, it's David Piper reporting for us this morning in Tokyo, of course, mentioning that the 160,000 Americans living in Japan, of course, the 1,300 or 1,600 who are currently missing at this hour, and still trying to get a hold of those people, 1,300, I should correct myself, as that live in some of those hardest hit areas, telephone lines down, they can't actually get a hold of those individuals.
Yeah, clearly helpful in that effort will be the nearly 40,000 U.S. troops we have stationed in Japan, all of them thus far accounted for, so certainly they will help with that rescue and recovery effort. But more on this nuclear issue. How big a concern is it? We hear terms like meltdown, partial meltdown thrown around. How big a risk is facing the people of Japan? Even if there was a full meltdown, it would be less radiation exposure than Chernobyl back in 1987. But here's what Dr. Dale Klein, who's a former chairman of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, says. He says perhaps this is being a bit blown out of proportion.
Well, I think if you look at what has happened at the Fukushima site, it should give people a confidence in the fact that these reactors are robust. First, they had a major earthquake. Then they had a tsunami, and then they had an explosion. And so far, there has been little radioactivity that is released from the plant. So I think the public should really understand that these plants are very robust. They're designed with defense and concept in mind. And I think the public should be reassured at this point that these plants are robust.
Now, on the flip side, they have found that 9 people have suffered some radiation exposure. Another 160 were being tested because they were thought to have, high radiation levels because they live in that area. You can see the testing going on here. These were people who were trying to be evacuated, as I understand it, by helicopter. So they were in that area waiting for help to come when they may have been exposed somehow, even toddlers, as you can see.
Yeah, getting radiology tests, as you can imagine, how frightening that must be for parents to have to get scanned that way. You know, and for years afterwards, of course, they were still finding blips of high amounts of radiation at Chernobyl after the 1986 disaster in Soviet Union. So
well, there were birth defects. I mean, you don't know this for a generation sometimes.
And as Dr. Siegel was talking yesterday, the major concern, of course, is the thyroid, and that is the most prone part of the body to this type of a disaster, and giving them the iodine was in a way to try to suppress and counter that. So also, we were looking at satellite images this morning, and it's pretty remarkable because from a geology perspective, Japan has shifted 8 feet where it used to be. The entire country moved 8 feet.
But what's more mind-blowing is that the earthquake was so huge that it redistributed the Earth's mass, and it changed the rotation of our planet by 1.8 microseconds.
Hard to really figure that into your day, folks, but
Well,
take a look at the photos.
I think that's why I'm running late, frankly.
Yeah. Take a look at some of the photos. These are satellite photos that show the actual shift. As Clayton said, 8 feet. Some say it's up to 13 feet actually moving the coast. But as our chief meteorologist told us earlier, this is not all that uncommon with these enormous quakes. This is seen, and we've seen it several times in the last couple of decades, but still hard to believe when you look at the photos.
Yeah, all the before and after Google Earth images, of course, you can see where the brown sludge and the mess on the right side of your screen after the tsunami waves rolled in, where were once picturesque vacation towns. In fact, some of these areas, and $400 a night for hotel rooms. Beautiful, picturesque towns that you'd fly in there to spend a little vacation. $400 a night hotel rooms completely washed away.
Look at this before and after. I mean, it looks like just the land has even gone. And there again, you see buildings and homes that have now vanished off the face of the map. We want to bring in Rick Reichmuth now. So the Earth has shifted on its axis, Rick. I mean, it's just mind-blowing.
It is. Now, Dave, not that it's uncommon. I mean, these kinds of earthquakes are not common.
Right. But when there is a major quake, you see this.
Exactly. In fact, last February 2010, there was a big earthquake in Chile that caused that tsunami. Tsunami went, as far as Hawaii and in the western part of the U.S. That one also shifted the axis. It changed how quickly the Earth rotates. The town of Concepcion, Chile, moved by about 10 feet. So different towns also moving in different directions, not everything moving in the exact same direction. But that kind of quick jolt changes the mass of the Earth, and when you get the change of the mass of the Earth, it makes it spin at a different speed, and that's exactly what we saw here. But by the way, the earthquake in Sumatra, the big one in 2004 that caused that tsunami, made the Earth speed up by about 0.6, or about 6 microseconds, which is 6 1/millionths of a second. So